Hello everyone, it's the quarterfinals, big day, big day, big day. You guys are hyped? I'm so nervous right now. Nice to see Hammer being that nervous. Well, it's just part nerves on Benjy's behalf and part nerves about having to do technical stuff on the fly. Both things are pretty scary. Okay, so this is the opening we're hoping for in this first game. This is what we're hoping for, people. This position. If we get this position, I expect a lot of hype in chat. If this position happens on the board, I expect you to call me the greatest chess coach of all time. Honestly, not even chess coach. I mean, I would be Nostradamus if this happens. This has never been played in Negreanu's games before. This is me making a prediction based on some moves he has made in similar situations. Oh, they started. Okay, Benjy with the white pieces. Okay, Negreanu plays something completely different. We have not prepared this. Benjy with the white pieces here. He's going for his Khare opening. He has played this many times before. Okay, it's transposing. It's transposing. Okay, Benjy Benjy is taking his time. Oh. Okay, so far so good. Yes, castles. Yes. If the knight comes out, you move up in the middle. Come on, Negreanu. Get that knight out. You know you want to. Yes! I am so good at predicting chess moves. Let's go, Benjy. Let's go. Okay, so Benjy is in his preparation. He's opened up for his bishop. This bishop will be Benjy's main asset in this game. This bishop is already causing trouble because in combination with the knight, there's a threat now to Negreanu's knight on c6. So I think Negreanu is going to capture Benjy's knight. Okay, Negreanu instead moves his queen up. We did not practice this move, but no reason to fret. Benjy will move his pawn up in the middle, and he will have a nice position out of the opening. Oh. Yeah, okay, that's not good. That was a very unnecessary trade from Benjy. Because now black has strengthened their influence in the middle. But it's okay. Okay, the pawn comes afterwards. It's still fine. Still a good position for white. Benjy's going to move his knight up, and he's going to do his fianchetto. This is what we've been practicing. Honestly, objectively, I think the decision Benjy made was good. Like, objectively, I think this is a good move. It's just, it goes against some principles we've tried to instill in Benjy about not allowing the opponent to get their pawns controlling into the middle. But it's fine, it's fine. Okay, Negreanu getting his bishop pointing down. Good move from Negreanu. He has seen the damage Benjy's bishop is capable of, and he's trying to make a trade between those bishops as soon as possible. I would like to see Benjy move his knight up. Okay, Benjy taking a lot of time in the opening. I'm getting a little bit stressed about that he's taking so much time. But honestly, the reason he's doing it is because I explicitly told him to do so. So I can't really now say, oh, Benjy, why are you using so much time? When that's genuinely what I asked him to do. Okay, so now the bishops are up against each other. And Benjy does not like it when he loses these bishops. So I'm very scared about how he's going to deal with this. Because if he now does his normal plan of just moving the pawn forward to do the fianchetto, then Negreanu can try to start an early attack out on the side of the board. Which can be difficult to deal with. Okay, so Benjy trying to avoid that trade. Unfortunately, this means that Benjy is taking on a bad pawn structure. So Benjy now, after takes, I think Benjy's plan is to take with a pawn, but this is not a good pawn structure for white. The pawns are overextended, and Negreanu can move his bishop to point down the board and have a good position there. It's not the end of the world, but it was not a perfect move there from Benjy. And Negreanu, after getting surprised in the opening, he's been playing very well. Benjy's best plan would now be to get his bishop out. He needs to be able to challenge the amazing diagonal this bishop has down the board. Bishop out. I like this move. Bishop out and then queen up, and then Benjy will try to make the trade of bishops on the side of the board. That's fine. I definitely prefer black's position. I think black's position is much easier to play because of this bishop. So Daniel's bishop is pointing down with no pawns to block it, but Benjy has voluntarily put a pawn in front of his own bishop, which means his bishop is not very good right now. But the way to deal with this is that Benjy can move his bishop up and try to make a trade between the bishops. It's very important that Benjy gets rid of black's very good bishop as soon as possible. And that's precisely what he's done. Good play from Benjy. I'm much less concerned now. Much less concerned. But yeah, this was a bad move from Daniel. A bad move from Daniel. It doesn't really do anything. Benjy can now comfortably exchange off the bishops. Benjy's main problem now is that his bishop is pointing in towards his own pawn. And he's struggling to find some purpose for this bishop. The best thing that could happen right now is if Negreanu moved his pawn further forward. That would be massive for Benjy. Because if this pawn moves further forward, then white can open up for their rook and start an attack. Benjy's main problem right now is that he's struggling to find areas where he can attack black. Benjy has a half open file here on the C file. But it's difficult for him to get a rook pointing down because black's pawn is protected by another pawn. And so Benjy is struggling to find a good situation for his rooks. If Benjy's good, he will start pushing all of his pawns forward so that he can try and open up for his rooks. But we have never discussed any ideas like that before. That being said, I really like this move. This move is great as long as the plan is to keep on pushing. Essentially, what you're hoping is going to happen is that the position in the middle will open up and then those rooks can show their dominance. So now, from Benjy, I would like to see f4, e4, or b3. Yes, good move from Benjy. Very good move. Look at how the one pawn is protected by the other pawn. Benjy uses the same strategy that Negreanu has going on. So Benjy's rook couldn't really get into play because Negreanu's pawn was protected by another pawn. And Benjy uses that same strat to limit the scope of black's rook. So now this black rook isn't really doing much. And Benjy gets a big chance to do the en passant move. Benjy gets a big opportunity here. He can use the en passant move to take and then open up for his queen and for his rook. Benjy, yes! Benjy in Pogchamps with the en passant move. Takes that guy out. Opens up for his queen and rook. And now he has great pressure in towards the middle. They're tied on time. They have an equal amount of time. Benjy's position is objectively significantly better. But very tense still. I think Benjy should make this trade. I hope Benjy doesn't get tempted into moving his bishop out on the side. Because he needs to eliminate this black bishop pointing down towards the white king. This is like the biggest danger in the position for Benjy right now. This bishop pointing down towards the king. Benjy should eliminate his opponent's bishop. Okay. Benjy, once again, I would say making a mistake in that he's blocking in his own bishop. But I think what's happening is that Benjy has identified this idea. So I think Benjy saw that if he moves the bishop out on the side, then Negreanu can stop the threat against the rook and queen with his pawn. So Benjy is first moving his pawn up, and now this bishop out on the side is a big threat. This is a really, really tense game. Because as long as this bishop is alive and pointing down towards the white king, I will remain nervous. But, yes! Did I call it or did I call it? Did I call it or did I call it? That was Benjy's plan. Benjy wanted to use his rook, use his pawn to stop this f5 pawn push. And now he's using his bishop to point down towards the black rook. Great move from Benjy. He is looking good in this game. Hopefully he sees f6 after the trade of pawns. Yes, Bola, I'm not concerned about that. I think he will. Honestly, what I was concerned about was that we could have a situation where Negreanu had the bishop and queen working together in towards the white king, which would have been incredibly scary for Benjy. So it's not only that Negreanu didn't see the threat, he actively made a move that made Benjy's idea more effective. Because now the bishop and queen cannot work together down on the board. And so Negreanu just uses his rook to protect his other rook. But now Benjy can exchange a bishop for a rook. That's an advantage for him. Okay, very important now. Benjy needs to play his pawn forward. Now that Benjy has given away his bishop, there's so many of these light squares that lacks protection. It's very important that Benjy now uses his pawns to cover the squares that the bishop otherwise would have protected. Yes, and that's what Benjy's doing. He's putting his pawns on the light squares so that these pawns are now doing the job the bishop was doing previously. Okay, so Negreanu realizes that he's in trouble and he's trying to start an attack. With correct play, Benjy will win this game. But his opponent isn't just going to fall down and let Benjy get the win just like that. He's going to try to make something happen. The best idea for Benjy now is to try and target this pawn on d6. This pawn cannot be protected by black's other pawns. So that means it's a target. And Benjy has a rook and a queen already pointing in that direction. But he needs more pieces to go after this one. So Benjy didn't see this plan with the rook. But I think what Benjy's doing now, moving the queen away, he's opening up for the rook to come up into the center. And then he will on the next moves, he will do this. Get both rooks pointing down towards black's queen. I think that's Benjy's plan. Is h4 a bad move? Yes. We don't want any freaky moves. We don't want anything that's like, oh, can this be a good move? Maybe, maybe not. We don't want that at all. We want to keep Benjy's king super, super protected. That's our main priority right now. Just keep pieces close to white's king and gradually start to put pressure on this pawn on d6. Ooh, yeah. That's precisely what we don't want, Benjy. Oh my gosh, that's a horrible move. He's opening up around his own king. He didn't hear what I said about keeping the king safe. And now after the captures, his king is completely in the open. This white king is not having a good time right now. Okay, Negreanu immediately tries to go after the king, and Benjy just moves away. Yeah, I think objectively black is not winning now, but I think in practical play, it's very likely that black will win. Because with a king that's completely undefended, it's very difficult to keep everything protected. He should have gone queen g2, yes. He should have tried. He needed to get all the pieces close to his own king as soon as possible. Computer says it's equal. Well, it's not really equal. Because black just has a devastating attack. It's much easier for black to find good moves than it is for white. Yeah, he got overly eager because he wasn't sure how to break through black's position, and basically what he did instead was break through his own position. And yeah, now bishop takes, and that's going to be game over. So objectively, bishop takes. Benjy now has the opportunity to sacrifice his rook on this bishop. So Benjy has one saving move, but I think it's very unlikely that he will find this saving move. He played a decent game though. He played a pretty good game. He got a winning advantage, but he just, yeah, he was so eager on how to win the game that he forgot that it was a definite possibility to lose as well. And he just gave black all the avenues they needed to attack. If Benjy loses these two games, is he out? Yes. Damn! No way. No way. Daniel just looking in awe. Daniel still hasn't taken this bishop. He doesn't know what just hit him. Honestly, Benjy still has chances to win. Because if Negreanu moves his king to the wrong square, there's this rook attacking the queen and the king on the same file. Okay, so Negreanu has taken back. Benjy coming in with his queen. So the reason this is okay for Benjy is that when the king moves, Benjy can give a queen trade. Benjy can now get rid of the queens, and then he's never gonna lose. But he can also try and move his rook. Yeah, and Benjy goes for the queen trade. Wow. That's a really good decision. I don't have the heart for this. I'm an old man. I can't deal with this stuff. We have a rook endgame. Benjy's going to win a pawn. Benjy's going to win a pawn. Benjy's going to be a pawn up in a rook endgame. But he has only 1 minute left. Benjy has only 1 minute left. And one of Benjy's weaknesses is that he doesn't notice when he's low on time. Wow, this game is so crazy. Okay, so the rook gives a check. He moves away. Now Benjy should try and target this pawn. Okay, Benjy's just started running with his pawns. That's a big mistake. Big mistake here from Benjy. Because now Negreanu can use his rook to try and target this pawn on b3. Benjy now targeting black's pawn. Good decision. Negreanu's going to capture the pawn that Benjy was up. Benjy, his king is in check. He needs to move away. Ooh, Benjy moves up. I don't like that. That's a very dangerous location for that king. Okay, Negreanu can now create a double attack with his rook. Okay, instead, Negreanu choosing to defend his own pawn. But then Benjy just keeps on running with his pawn on the side. What a tense endgame. Okay, Benjy keeps on running. But Negreanu now going to capture the pawn and give a check. The king moves back. Negreanu will play his rook to attack Benjy's pawn. But Benjy will have a pawn 1 square away from queening. 1 square away from queening. Oh my gosh, this could go either way. Benjy started out being a pawn up in this rook endgame. He's since lost 2 pawns. But he has a pawn 1 square away from being a new queen. Ooh, and Negreanu's pushing his pawn. But now Benjy can use his king to try and catch this pawn before it does any damage. Benjy should try to get his king involved. Benjy has less than a minute left. Negreanu with a minute 30. Both players pretty low on time. Ooh, Benjy, king's endgames. Oh, okay. So Benjy sacrifices, but I think he missed that Negreanu, instead of taking his rook, can take the pawn. So now, and that was a mistake from Benjy. He thought he was being very clever, but he forgot that now he went away from the defense of his rook, and now it's an endgame. It's an endgame with a pawn down for Benjy. So Benjy is in trouble. Benjy needs to try and defend. Benjy moves his king up. His insistence on moving the king up on the side is freaking me out. But on this occasion, I think it was a decent move. He should try and get his rook over here. Benjy should try and move his rook to give checks on the king. That was a bad move from Benjy. Bad move from Benjy. Now Negreanu can move his king over and try and chase Benjy's rook. Okay, Negreanu giving protection to his own pawn. Benjy should now try and attack Black's king. No, Benjy chooses to move the king. Now Negreanu has the opportunity to move the king up. Okay. Benjy once again should try and move his king around to give a check. I'm just putting it out there that it's still possible for Benjy to give a checkmate on this black king. Okay, Benjy moving the pawn up. Now he can trade. He can trade because then he will move his king up. Benjy, the trade is good for you. Benjy, the trade is good for you. Okay. Yeah. If you were going to trade, you might as well have captured to start with. And now Benjy has a losing endgame, unfortunately. Game 2, if Benjy wins, then Armageddon. Yes. Okay, so Negreanu takes down the first game. Benjy was in the... he was definitely had good chances. Benjy was ahead with a rook against a bishop. But unfortunately, he allowed his king position to be very weakened. So here he had good protection in front of his king. But once he moves forward, that protection disappears. And here in this position, he did have the opportunity to exchange, after which it would have been a draw. But instead, he chose to do the exchange under unfavorable circumstances. Okay, the game has begun. Benjy has played his French opening. And he's playing very quickly and very confidently. He's moving his knight in towards the middle. He's going for the trade of knights. This is the same line we reviewed before the game. Daniel playing very quickly as well. Benjy coming out with his bishop, presumably. Oh, this is not good. Negreanu has prepared this opening. Oh yeah, Negreanu has prepared bishop takes h7. Oh, this is bad. Yeah, he's going to play h4. Negreanu is going to play h4, I think. Okay. Honestly, I should have told him to play this bishop move. I was seriously considering telling him to play this bishop move. And then I chose not to do it. Okay. So the bishop and the queen are pointing in towards Benjy's king. So Benjy is choosing to go for using his pawn to blockade. And Negreanu makes a mistake. Negreanu makes a mistake. So Negreanu should have made a queenside castling and should have tried to attack against Benjy's king. But now Benjy is doing just fine. Benjy has the bishop pair and Benjy can strike in the center with his pawn. It's very, very important that Benjy now slows down. This is not something we have practiced before. You need to slow down and, you know, absorb the new circumstances of this game. And if Benjy now takes a little break and finds the right move, then he can get an advantage with the black pieces using the French opening. Let's go French opening and then let's go bishops. And Mikael, Esko, Chris, Charles, Slumka, Bedavitan, Dancing Turtle, and No Lard, all spamming the chat with their respect the bishops emote. I remember the first day when Benjy played against Myth. Benjy was critiqued for playing too strategical. But I'm hoping that today he proves the doubters wrong, and that even though you're 1200 rated, you can play a strategical masterpiece. Okay, so Benjy uses his queen up to try and put pressure on White's knight. It's a good move, because now if Negreanu plays his pawn forward, which is almost certainly his plan, then Benjy will move his pawn up, because now this pawn is protected by the queen. And if there's a capture, Benjy will capture back. He will have the attack on the king and on the queen. Let's see what happened. Negreanu moving his pawn one step forward. That does nothing to protect the pawn in the middle. So Benjy now has the opportunity to win a pawn. He's got this planned. Yes, it was clearly his idea on the last move to capture that knight. And I think he's gonna go through with it. I think he's kind of scared right now. He's scared about how well Negreanu played in the last game. And now he's looking if there's anything freaky happening if he takes that pawn. But there's nothing to be scared of. Just take that knight and then take the pawn that replaces it. And Benjy is going to be a pawn up in this game. Yeah, Daniel is playing very, very quickly. He's trying to stress Benjy. But Benjy now has an extra pawn and plenty of time on his clock. Okay, so Negreanu is pushing his pawn forward. Big mistake. This pawn is not going anywhere. Sometimes it can be good to include this guy in an attack, but Benjy has really solidified the position around his king. So there's no way this pawn is moving further forward to make an attack. And now Benjy is going into endgame mode. We've seen Benjy be up a pawn in an endgame previously. Didn't work out very well. But Benjy still believes in his endgame prowess. And once again, he's seeking to remove the queens off the board now that he has an extra pawn. Benjy's pieces are a bit stuck. Yes, they are. So Benjy's big problem right now is that he's struggling to get his bishop into the game. But first up, he wants to make a trade. And if Daniel moves away, yes, now Benjy can try to be greedy. But he's already up a pawn. Benjy can also move this pawn up, which is pretty good, opening up for his bishop. The reason I don't like this move is because then Negreanu can move his pawn forward. And this can become very dangerous in towards Benjy's king. So I think the best move would be to move the bishop out. Benjy's big problem in this position is what to do about the bishop. So if he moves this bishop out, then if bishop takes pawn, Benjy could have created a double attack. That would have been very advanced strategy. I also like what he's doing, to be honest. King up is a very good move from Benjy because he doesn't want to allow White's queen to get into the position. So he's preventing the queen from getting in, and then he'll deal with this bishop afterwards. For now, this rook is attacking the black queen. And it's very tempting to give a check, but then the queen is far away from black's king. Okay, Benjy goes for the check. I don't see anything wrong with it, but it's scary. It's scary just going after pawns. But for the moment, I don't see anything wrong with it. Benjy's tactics are better than Daniel's. Maybe endgames aren't the best. I disagree. I think Benjy's tactics are his weak spot. And then Negreanu probably, Benjy probably better than Negreanu in most things. Oh, the double attack! The double attack! Benjy with the double attack! I didn't even see that move! I didn't even see that move until Benjy played it. He's going to take the queen. Benjy has equalized the match. We're going down to tie breaks. We're going into the 5-minute games. Okay, I'm going to send him a message immediately. What are we going to write to him? I'm not going to send it until the game is over. But tie breaks are 5 minutes with no increment. Don't stress too much, but he's been playing very quickly. Yeah, Benjy really doesn't like playing without increments. And chess.com changed the rules for the tie breaks like 2 days ago. So we haven't gotten an opportunity to practice the 5-0. We practiced the 3+1, but they since changed the format. You're higher rated at Blitz than him. You got this. Play the same white opening, but don't capture his knight on c6 this time. Okay, that's the message I've prepared. Okay, Benjy's got this though. He's going to move his rook into the middle. He's going to capture Negreanu's rook because the rook cannot move on account of the queen pointing down on the diagonal. And Benjy just has an extra queen. There's absolutely no chance he messes this up. Is there draw odds for black? No, no draw odds. Benjy will have the white pieces. It's not Armageddon, Keeb. It's Blitz tiebreaks. Now they're going to play until somebody wins. 5-minute games. Okay, I added don't capture his knight on c6 this time because last time it helped him get his bishop into play. Oh, this is going to be so stressful. Benjy does not have a lot of experience with blitz chess. Okay, now with the checkmate. Benjy with the checkmate. Benjy is the better player. He made a mistake in the first white game and he got punished for it. He also freaked out when he was low on time. But he can make the comeback. You prefer the Caro-Kann to French? Well, to each their own. But I think the French, it's Benjy's favorite openings, and he honestly scores very well with it. Okay, the game has started. And Benjy plays the same opening. He's going for the same opening moves. So far, so good. If Negreanu now moves... Okay, Negreanu moves his queen to a different location. Benjy can still move his pawn up. Yes, good move from Benjy. Good move from Benjy, and he's up on time. This is a game... Oh, ooh, Benjy can move and attack the queen. This is very advantageous for Benjy if he moves to attack the queen. It's very important that Benjy doesn't capture black's knight because that allows... Yes! Good move from Benjy. Good move from Benjy. He's attacking the queen. There's a weakness on the d5 square. We actually practiced something that's very similar to this against Sardoche. This is like a much better version of something we already practiced against Sardoche. I'm very hyped about this. Get the knight out, get the bishop out. These are the key moves for Benjy now. We practiced this. We practiced this. Okay, pawn's gonna attack the knight and Benjy moves back. We have practiced this. This is excellent. We have practiced almost an identical position. Don't freak out, Benjy. Don't freak out. Just get the knight back. Yes. And then up with the bishop. Things are looking good. Things are looking good. It's been a while. It's like a week and a half since we had that lesson. But what we talked about is bishop up, queen up, rook into the middle. Okay, he doesn't remember that plan. But he remembers his fianchetto plan. That's also a good one here. His bishops are so good right now, pointing down the board in both directions. But now it's very key that Benjy realizes he needs to do something about this knight. He needs to get this knight away from the edge of the board and into the middle. Up on time as well. Ooh, good point, homie. Good point. Benjy is so comfortable in the opening that he has managed to get a time advantage. But, you know, a half a minute time advantage can easily disappear. Okay, so Benjy has been told that when the opponent does like an aggressive move with no specific purpose, he should try to chase away that piece immediately. Yeah, both players taking their time here. Ooh, Benjy coming up with his knight in the middle. Good move from Benjy. He's now threatening for the knight to come up. So if Daniel completes his plan, Benjy will have an attack on the queen and an attack on the rook. Instead, Daniel chooses to go back with the knight. Benjy coming in with a fork. Ooh, Benjy didn't see it. Benjy instead respecting the bishops. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. We've made him too respectful of the bishops. I think there's no other explanation. He's been told too many times that you need to respect the bishops. But it's okay. It's okay. Yes, good plan from Benjy. Rerouting this knight into the middle. Very, very good plan here from the young benjyfishy. He needs to get his knight up, then the queen up, and the rook into the middle. Ooh, Benjy with a great opportunity now to use his bishop to attack this pawn. Okay, he doesn't spot that, but he has a plan. The strategic mastermind at work right now. Get the queen up and get the rook into the middle. Queen up, rook into the middle. Benjy's still up on the clock, but not by much. Oh, and once again, Benjy goes for this very bad plan. I've never seen him use this plan before. Although, honestly, in this case, it's okay. In this case, it's okay. But in general, I don't like this. Because you have a space advantage and like black is very cramped. You're allowing black to make pretty decent trades. But it's okay. Benjy's still doing great. Benjy has the bishop pair. Benjy has a time advantage. He can now put pressure on this pawn on d6. So we need to get the rook involved. Yes. Unfortunately, Negreanu... no, if bishop comes up, then Benjy can capture the pawn. No problem. Benjy will capture the pawn. I think Benjy is about to be up a pawn with the bishop pair, and he will have a time advantage. He's up by 30 seconds on the clock. There's no metric in which Benjy is worse. He's better on time. He's better on position. He's better on number of pawns. Benjy now coming in with the queen, and that move will also put pressure on black's bishop. Yes, good move by Benjy. The queen trade, Benjy getting his rook into the attack, now also threatening the bishop. That means Negreanu doesn't have time to capture Benjy's pawn because Negreanu first needs to deal with the situation regarding the bishop. Benjy still 30 seconds, no, 50 seconds up on the clock. Very nice to have that time advantage. Benjy now should capture the pawn. There's lots of pawns the bishops can take because the bishops are so powerful pieces. That's why we're so respectful of them. Okay, Benjy takes the pawn in the middle. Unfortunately, that means Negreanu has the opportunity to capture on the c4 square. Negreanu doesn't take that opportunity. Now Benjy threatening the knight. Good move there from Benjy. The knight coming in to attack the rook. Benjy needs to identify it. Yes, Benjy identified the threat. He's now threatening against the knight. Benjy can now capture the pawn on the side. That's game over. That's game over. If Benjy takes the pawn on the side with his rook, also game over. He can also use his bishop. No, this is not game over because the knight can come back from where it came. And when it returns, it will attack the white bishop. Negreanu doesn't see it. Negreanu doesn't see it. Benjy can capture the knight. Benjy also has an idea with the bishop coming into the center. Benjy can capture the knight. The only thing that can take him down right now is time. Time is the only concern right now. Negreanu taking back. Benjy can't come in with the bishop. Benjy instead choosing, a double attack. Benjy has identified a double attack. Great play from Benjy. His bishop will take the rook. His bishop will take the rook. He will trade. And trades are good because he does have an extra bishop. Great play there from Benjy. He's in his zone. He's in the zone right now. Benjy coming up with the rook. Benjy has an extra bishop and an extra pawn. Benjy also 30 seconds extra on the clock. Now comes his bullet training. Will his bullet training help him? He needs to move his pawn up to defend the bishop. Yes, good move. Good move. Now the rook should attack the pawn on the side. Rook to attack pawns. Okay, Benjy's just moving his pawns up. That's fine. Do not take this guy. Yes, good play from Benjy. He's reinforcing the pawn that was reinforcing the bishop. Ooh, Benjy's doing such a good job now, limiting the counterplay. Now comes the king. Now comes the king. Benjy's still up by 30 seconds. He can also move his rook up. Whatever you do, the only thing that can mess this up is spending too much time. Benjy going after the pawn on the side. Benjy coming in for the check with the rook. He can also get his king up. Benjy has so many options. The only thing that can lose this game is if he spends too much time. Ooh, good move. Getting away from the pawn. He's opening up for the pawn to push forward. Do not push further forward. Protect your rook. Keep your rook safe. Yes. Check. Yes. Benjy has played a perfect blitz game. Benjy has played a perfect game. But now he's spending so much time. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's nothing Negreanu can do. The pawn is just moving up to become a new queen. It's checkmate in 2 moves for benjyfishy. Oh no. Why are you spending so much time? No. Checkmate in 1 move. 10 seconds left. No. No. He had checkmate in 1 move. He didn't see it. But now he's got the queen. He's got the queen. He just has to move quickly. No, he doesn't know that he's low on time. Oh, man. And he wins. He wins. He wins. He wins with 1 second. He wins with 1 second. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. Oh. He wins with 1 second. Oh, he had no idea how low he was on time. This is why we've been practicing his 1-minute games. Because he's not good at noticing when he's low on time. But he's made it. He's made it. He's in the semi-final. benjyfishy moving on to the semi-final. In what can only be described as the closest match yet in the Pogchamps tournament. He had checkmate in 2 moves. He was up 20 seconds on the clock. And then when he had checkmate in 1 move, he didn't. He could have taken the rook. He could have given the checkmate in 1 move. But he just choked. He choked so bad. He choked, but he still managed to win the game. The bullet training came to the rescue. And with 1 second remaining, oh my gosh, if Benjy hadn't made his move in time, Negreanu had 0.1 seconds left. Negreanu, if Benjy had failed to make his move, would have won with 0.1 seconds. But he made it. He made it. And Negreanu loses on time. And Benjy is through to the semi-final. Oh my, oh wow. Oh, who's Daniel's coach? Well, he was very cagey. Daniel was very cagey about who his coach was. Congratulations, well done.
That was kind of close. That was just a bit close.
Yeah, it was very close, but you showed huge mental strength, I think.
Yeah, after the first game, I was in such a shit mood. I was so annoyed. I was so annoyed. But I guess I got a little bit lucky that he blundered his queen. I mean, I would have got his rook anyway, but that he blundered his queen because I don't know. I was not in the mindset to win that game. I was just doing moves.
Seriously?
Yeah, I really wasn't in a good mood after that. After I lost, because I don't know. That was my first loss in the tournament. I was just like,
yeah.
Can't be arsed.
But I mean, the Blitz game, you played perfectly.
Yeah, I thought the Blitz game was pretty nice. I set up the fork or the double attack. I thought that was pretty nice.
Yeah, when you moved your rook.
Yeah, moving my rook back. Yeah, I thought that was pretty.
Yeah, I really like that move.
Yeah.
I mean, you were basically just in control the whole way.
Yeah, if I would have lost after I missed a mate in one, that would be it for me. I would have been so mad.
Yeah, tomorrow we're practicing tie breaks, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I think that's the best use of our time, because honestly, tie breaks pretty likely, and yeah, I mean, you played perfectly. It's just that you need a bit more awareness of your time situation.
Yeah, I found it hard to look at my time while also playing.
Yeah,
like it's I don't know, because I have to look at like one side of my top and bottom of my screen. It's hard to see while also trying to think of moves and stuff.
So we'll work on that a little bit, and we'll also work on playing without increments, because we never did that before.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, we have something to work with, but overall, I'm just so happy you made it through, because you deserved it. You played so well today. You made you made one mistake with the pawn in front of your king. And other than that, everything can be like the second mistake you made in that first game was just because you were low on time and you were stressed out of your mind.
Yeah, I realized after he checked me with my queen that maybe moving the pawn in front of my king was a bad idea.
Yeah.
But I mean, worked out.
It worked out. And that rook sacrifice you had in that game, I realized you don't really want to talk about it, but that was such a clutch move.
Was that a good decision? Yeah, because I saw that he could have.
It was a fantastic move.
Okay, nice. Thank fuck for that, because I thought that. Yeah, I was so annoyed that I had to do it, because I was looking at every check he had, and he had to check to the right of my king, and then I'd have to move it in front of his bishop, and then he could do a discovered check or something with his rook. I was like, nah, I don't want to have to deal with that. So yeah, I kind of just traded it.
Yeah, that was a brilliant decision.
Yeah, okay.
And then, the end game wasn't that good, but I think you get really stressed out when you're low on time.
Yeah, I thought I was chilling up until the point where I think he took one of my pawns and it was with check, and I didn't realize it was with check.
Yeah.
And yeah, that kind of put me off quite a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, apart from that, I thought I played pretty good.
Yeah. No, I think overall you definitely played the best chess. You deserve to go through. But boy, did you make me scared.
I was scared as well. I would have been, if I would have got knocked out there. That would have been enough.
Did you see, he had 0 points? No, this is not it. This is it. So at the end there, he had 0.1 seconds, I think.
Really?
Yeah. So if you had failed to make a move in 2.8 seconds, he would have won with 0.1 seconds left.
Oh, that would have been rough. That would have been rough.
After having missed a checkmate in one move.
Yeah.
Oh, I am very happy that didn't happen. Okay. Great games. You kept us on our toes and you kept us entertained.
Yeah, it was all for the content. Of
course. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the semifinals. You're playing very well. That blitz game was unbelievably strong.
Also, I checked the accuracy from the first game, and it was 70 moves, and I had 93.1, and he had 92.6. Yeah. And then in the second game, I had 96.4 accuracy. Yeah. And in the blitz game, I had 92.1.
Yeah.
All above 90. Above 90.
That's so strong. That's so strong.
Very nice. Ooh. Okay, well, I'm gonna go chill for a bit. I will see you tomorrow then.
See ya.
Yeah.
Bye. That was a Benjy, and he was very happy, and as he should be. That was a very close match, but he made it work in the end, and I'm very happy he did.